the silent fear society holds against those who think differently. Have you ever noticed how society celebrates thinkers only after they're dead? When you think differently, when you question what others accept blindly, something strange happens. People become uncomfortable around you, conversations dry up, invitations disappear, and you begin to notice the quiet walls society builds around you. It's not because you are wrong, it's because you see what they cannot handle. Society claims to value intelligence, innovation, and critical thinking, but only if it's comfortable, only if it doesn't threaten the fragile illusions people live by. If you disrupt that comfort, you become the threat, the outcast, the one who must be silenced or ignored. Look at history. Socrates was forced to drink poison because he challenged the illusions of Athens. Galileo was placed under house arrest for proving truths the church didn't want to accept. Nietzsche was dismissed as insane for questioning the moral frameworks society clung to. Tesla died alone, while others profited from his stolen ideas because his vision threatened established industries. Society does not fear you because you are wrong. Society fears you because you see too clearly. But why does this fear exist? It's because thinking differently is not just an intellectual threat, it's a mirror reflecting back the lies, the illusions, and the cowardice people carry inside themselves. When you think deeply, when you question, when you see through the masks, it confronts others with their own mental laziness. It challenges the beliefs they have tied their identity to. It disrupts the illusions they use to avoid discomfort, and people will do almost anything to avoid discomfort. This is why people tolerate those who are stronger, richer, or even more physically dominant, but they fear those who think at a level they cannot reach, because wealth and strength do not challenge identity. Ideas do in society. Survival has always depended on conformity. Tribes that thought alike, that held the same beliefs, survived by unity. Those who questioned, who stood apart, were seen as threats to that unity. Even today, the human brain is wired for social acceptance over truth. People fear social rejection more than intellectual dishonesty. So when you think differently, you trigger a primal fear in others, fear of disruption, a fear of isolation, a fear of what they might have to face if they listened to you. But here's the brutal truth. Society needs people who think differently, even if it doesn't realize. It needs those who question the system, who dismantle illusions, who force evolution, who carry the burden of seeing clearly. Every advancement in history has come from those who refused to think like everyone else. But for you, the cost is real. Isolation, rejection, misunderstanding. The question is, will you betray your clarity for acceptance? Or will you embrace the discomfort of seeing clearly, because society will pressure you to conform? It will reward those who tell people what they want to hear, and reject those who speak what they need to hear. If you are here, listening, it means you see differently. It means you feel the weight of clarity in a world addicted to illusions. The loneliness you feel, the rejection you face, the discomfort you create is the price of vision. But this price is not a punishment, it is an initiation, because the world changes not through the masses, but through the few who are willing to stand apart, to see clearly, to speak uncomfortable truths, and to walk alone, if necessary, in this series. You will learn why society fears those who think differently, the psychology behind group resistance, and how to navigate your path as a deep thinker in a conformist world without losing your mind or your purpose. If you're ready to see clearly, keep watching, because in the end, it is better to be rejected for clarity than accepted for illusion. Section 2. The psychology of groupthink and why you are seen as a threat. Have you ever wondered why people avoid uncomfortable truths, even when those truths could set them free? It's not that they can't understand, it's that they don't want to. At the core of society lies an unspoken law. Conformity equals safety. For thousands of years, human beings survived by aligning with the tribe. To be rejected was to risk death. Our ancestors knew that isolation meant vulnerability to predators, starvation, and enemies. This primal wiring still lives in the modern mind. What is groupthink? Groupthink is the tendency of people to align their beliefs, behaviors, and perceptions with the collective, even if it means rejecting reality. Psychologically, groupthink creates an illusion of safety, reduces cognitive dissonance, rewards those who conform, punishes those who dissent. When you introduce a new idea, when you question the status quo, you threaten the harmony people believe is necessary for their survival. To the collective, your mind becomes a virosa, disruption that must be silenced before it spreads. While you trigger defensive responses, you may have experienced it. You share a perspective, a deeper insight, or a challenging truth in a casual conversation, and suddenly, the atmosphere changes. People look away. Jokes are made to change the subject. The topic shifts quickly. It's not about your idea alone. It's about what your idea represents. You represent the possibility that they are wrong, that what they believe may not be true, that the comfortable lies they tell themselves may need to be confronted, and people will protect their illusions, like their life depends on it, because to their subconscious mind, it does. The mirror effect. When you think differently, you act as a mirror. You reflect back the limitations, insecurities, and intellectual laziness of others. You don't even have to say much. Your presence, your silence, your refusal to conform becomes a confrontation. People do not forgive that easily. When others stand next to wealth, they feel envy. When they stand next to strength, they feel admiration. When they stand next to intelligence, they feel exposed. This discomfort triggers the brain's defense mechanisms. Dismissal, you think too much. Mockery, don't be so serious. Exclusion, you are left out of conversations and groups. Attack, your character is questioned instead of your ideas, because it's easier to attack the messenger than to face the message. Group identity. These individual truth. Human beings fear the loss of group identity more than the loss of truth. A person may suspect that a belief is false, but if rejecting it means losing their social circle, they will continue to believe the lie. This is why cults, religions, political groups, and even friend circles often resist new ideas fiercely. Truth disrupts unity, and unity is perceived as survival. Your willingness to think independently threatens this unity, and so society labels you weird, arrogant, antisocial, crazy, not because you are wrong, but because your refusal to conform is a threat to their psychological safety. The pain of awareness is a burden. Once you begin to see the lies in society, the manipulation in systems, and the illusions in collective beliefs, it becomes nearly impossible to unsee them. You feel disconnected in conversations. You lose interest in shallow gossip. You struggle to fit in without betraying yourself. This is the price of seeing clearly in a world addicted to illusions. But this pain is also a gift. It is the birth of true autonomy. It is the beginning of stepping out of the collective hypnosis that keeps people trapped in mediocrity and fear. In the next section, we will explore why societies resist change even when it is in their best interest, the hidden systems designed to keep people obedient, and how thinkers throughout history have been systematically silenced to protect the illusions that hold society together. If you're ready to continue seeing what others refuse to see, stay here, because clarity comes with a price, but blindness comes with a bigger one. Section 3. Why societies resist change even when it is right. You would think people want the truth. You would think society would embrace those who bring new ideas that could make life better, fairer, and clearer. But that is not how human nature or society works. Society resists change to protect stability at its core. Society is a system designed to maintain order, not to discover truth. For most of human history, stability meant survival. Change meant chaos, and chaos meant death. A new idea was dangerous because it could disrupt the fragile structure holding everything together, even when change would improve life in the long run. In the short term, it threatens power structures, traditions, and social hierarchies. It challenges the beliefs people tie their identities to, and people fear losing their identity more than they fear living in ignorance. Cognitive ease versus cognitive strain. The human brain prefers cognitive ease information that is simple, familiar, and comforting. When people encounter a new, complex idea, it triggers cognitive strain. It feels uncomfortable. The brain interprets this discomfort as a sign that something is wrong, even if the information is correct. This is why the truth often feels uncomfortable. It demands effort, change, and humility. Lies and illusions, on the other hand, feel comforting because they allow people to avoid the discomfort of confronting their own limitations and mistakes. System justification theory. Psychologists call it system justification theory, the tendency of people to defend and justify the existing social, economic, and political systems, even when those systems harm them. Why? Because rejecting the system feels like rejecting reality itself. It creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates fear. So people cling to illusions because illusions feel safe. Historical examples of resistance. Galileo proved the earth revolved around the sun, and the church silenced him to protect its authority. Socrates challenged the Athenian system of belief, and society executed him to preserve its illusions. Tesla envisioned free energy for humanity, but the industrialists of his time destroyed him to protect their profits. Again and again, society resists change because it threatens those who benefit from the status quo. Institutions, built to preserve the illusion education systems. Schools reward obedience, memorization, and conformity. Students are taught what to think, not how to think. Independent thought is labeled as troublesome, and those who question are silenced or ridiculed. Religious institutions. Many religions historically resisted scientific discoveries because those discoveries threatened their authority and the comfort they provided people. Corporate systems, workplaces value those who fit in over those who innovate. Employees who question inefficient or unethical practices are often labeled difficult or not a culture fit. Political systems. Politicians who speak the truth about uncomfortable issues often lose to those who sell comforting illusions. These systems protect themselves, not the truth. Why you are seen as a threat. When you think differently, you become a walking disruption. Your questions expose flaws in systems people have chosen to trust. Your clarity threatens the illusions people use to maintain their comfort. Your independence reminds others of their dependence on systems that limit them. People may say they want change, but what they truly want is comfortable change. That requires nothing from them. Real change demands discomfort, effort, and sacrifice. The role of deep thinkers throughout history. It has been the thinkers, innovators, and rebels who have pushed humanity forward despite resistance. These individuals were labeled mad until their ideas became undeniable, persecuted until their vision proved necessary, ignored until society needed their clarity. The world's progress relies on those who are willing to think differently, even when it costs them acceptance. If you feel rejected because you think deeply and challenge illusions, understand that this rejection is part of the path walked by every thinker who has changed the world. In the next section, we will explore the social mechanisms used to silence or neutralize those who think differently, and how you can navigate these systems without losing your clarity or purpose. If you want to learn how to protect your mind while living in a society addicted to illusions, stay here, because the world will not protect your clarity. You must. Section 4. The silent systems society uses to silence thinkers. You think society will thank you for thinking differently. You haven't been paying attention to history. Society claims to value truth, but only when it is convenient, comfortable, and profitable. If your truth threatens the illusions that keep society stable, the systems in place will find ways to silence you subtly or brutally. How society silences thinkers. The methods: 1. Social isolation. If you challenge common beliefs or question popular narratives, you'll notice a quiet distancing. Invitations stop coming. Conversations become dry. People look at you with discomfort. They do not know how to handle your clarity, so they remove you from their circles to protect their comfort. To mockery and labeling, when society cannot argue with your logic, it will attack your character. You will be labeled crazy conspiracy theorist, arrogant, difficult. Mockery is a weapon of the mediocre against the clarity of thinkers. It makes others fear aligning with you and isolates your ideas without needing logical debate. 3. Institutional suppression. Education systems suppress nonconformist ideas by rewarding obedience and punishing dissent. Workplaces punish those who speak up about inefficiency or unethical practices by labeling them as not team players. Political systems discredit whistleblowers and independent thinkers as threats to national stability. When your ideas threaten the system's stability or power structures, they will be pushed aside, discredited, or buried for distraction and overstimulation. Modern society does not need to imprison thinkers physically. It imprisons them mentally. Social media algorithms bombard people with dopamine-inducing distractions, viral nonsense, and outrage bait. Deep, complex ideas that require focus are drowned in a flood of entertainment and triviality. This is why philosophers, deep thinkers, and those who see too clearly find social media toxic. The system ensures people are too distracted to think deeply. 5. Financial control. Economic systems are designed to keep people occupied with survival and consumerism. The constant need for money forces thinkers to compromise their time, creativity, and energy just to sustain themselves. By keeping you financially limited, society limits your freedom to think, create, and disrupt. Why these methods work: people fear being seen as outsiders. The social brain is wired for acceptance over truth. When society labels thinkers as dangerous, others quickly distance themselves to avoid the same rejection. This is why thinkers throughout history often lived in poverty, exile, or isolation, while the world moved on in comfortable ignorance. greatest threat. Your clarity, you may believe you're just sharing ideas, but to society, you are a disruption. Your clarity becomes a threat to illusions. Illusions of moral superiority. Illusions of societal progress. Illusions of fairness and equality. Illusions of stability. When you challenge these illusions, you threaten the ego structures of individuals and the power structures of institutions simultaneously, and they will resist. Historical proof: Socrates, labeled a corrupter of youth, executed for encouraging people to think. Galileo, silenced and imprisoned for showing scientific truth that threatened religious authority. Tesla, financially destroyed for proposing free energy that would end profitable industries. Alan Turing, persecuted for his personal life despite contributions that saved millions. They weren't silenced because they were wrong. They were silenced because they were right too soon. What you must understand: if you think differently, you will face resistance. This is the nature of a world that fears disruption. But your mission is not to force people to see the truth before they are ready. Your mission is to protect your clarity, find the few who can walk alongside you, and continue your work without allowing society's resistance to break your spirit. In the next section, we will break down the psychological mechanisms inside the human brain that cause people to reject uncomfortable truths, including the Dunning-Kruger effect, the backfire effect, and status quo bias, so you understand exactly why your mind is seen as a threat in any social environment. Stay here if you are ready to understand the mind's hidden resistance to truth, so you can navigate your path with clarity and strategy. Section 5. The psychology of rejecting uncomfortable truths. Have you ever noticed how quickly people shut down when faced with uncomfortable truths? It is not because they are incapable of understanding. It is because their minds are wired to reject what threatens their psychological comfort, to navigate a world that fears your clarity. You need to understand the hidden cognitive mechanisms that cause people to resist deep, disruptive thinking. The Dunning-Kruger effect, the illusion of competence. The Dunning-Kruger effect states that people with low ability often overestimate their competence, while those with high ability tend to underestimate theirs. When you introduce a complex idea, those who know little about the subject often feel confident in dismissing you because they believe they know enough. Those who know more often second-guess themselves, making them less assertive in sharing the truth. This creates a paradox. The loudest voices are often the least informed, while the quietest minds hold the deepest truths. When you challenge these confident but uninformed individuals, they respond with aggression, mockery, or denial, not because you are wrong, but because you are revealing their ignorance. The backfire effect. Resistance to evidence. The backfire effect occurs when people are presented with facts that contradict their beliefs, and instead of changing their minds, they double down on their original positions. This happens because beliefs are tied to identity. Challenging beliefs feels like a personal attack. The brain perceives discomfort as danger, triggering emotional defenses. When you present the truth, you are not just challenging a thought. You are challenging a person's self-concept, social identity, and worldview simultaneously. Status quo bias. The comfort of familiarity. Human beings prefer what is familiar, even if it is flawed. The status quo bias is the tendency to stick with the current state of affairs because change feels risky and uncertain. When you propose a new way of thinking, people instinctively resist because change requires effort. Change creates uncertainty. Change threatens existing power structures. This is why societies cling to outdated systems, traditions, and beliefs, even when they are proven inefficient or harmful. Cognitive dissonance. The pain of contradiction. Cognitive dissonance occurs when a person holds two contradictory beliefs, creating mental discomfort. To reduce this discomfort, the mind will reject new information, rationalize existing beliefs, attack the source of discomfort. This is why people will argue passionately to defend beliefs they know are flawed, rather than accept the pain of admitting they were wrong. The brain's fear of truth. Neurological studies show that when people feel intellectually inferior, their amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fear and threat detection, becomes active. In simple terms, your intelligence can trigger the same fear response in others as a physical threat. The mind treats intellectual discomfort like a survival threat, leading to avoidance of the thinker, mockery or ridicule, aggression or dismissal. How this affects you as a deep thinker. You often feel ignored when you share insights, attacked for expressing deeper truths, alone in your clarity. Understand it is not because you lack value, but because your clarity challenges others in ways they are not ready to face. They do not fear you personally. They fear what you represent, the end of illusions, the responsibility of facing truth, the need to change. Your strategic understanding as a deep thinker. Choose your battles wisely. Know when to share your truths and when to remain silent. Seek out those who are ready, rather than forcing clarity on those who will resist. Your role is not to argue with everyone, but to protect your clarity while identifying those who are capable of growth. In the next section, we will explore why society values confidence over intelligence in social settings, and why charismatic, shallow thinkers gain influence, while deep thinkers struggle for recognition. If you are ready to understand how social dynamics shape who is heard and who is silenced, stay here. Section 6. Why society values confidence over intelligence. It is one of the cruelest paradoxes of human nature. Society rewards those who appear confident, even if they are wrong, while ignoring those who think deeply, even if they are right. If you have ever watched someone with shallow ideas gain attention and influence, while your carefully reasoned thoughts are ignored, understand this is not a flaw in you. It is a feature of how society has been structured to value certainty over truth. The social power of certainty. Human beings are wired to follow those who project confidence. In tribal times, a confident leader who could make quick decisions ensured survival. Confidence signals safety, direction, leadership. It does not matter if the confident person is wrong. What matters to the human brain is that they appear certain. In contrast, deep thinkers often speak with nuance, acknowledging uncertainty and complexity. They say, "It depends. We need more information. There are multiple perspectives." While this is the hallmark of true intelligence, society interprets it as weakness or indecision. Charisma versus substance. In social environments, charisma creates emotional resonance. Substance requires intellectual effort. Most people are driven by emotion, not logic. A charismatic but simplistic speaker makes people feel good, understood, and validated. A deep thinker challenges people to question themselves, which feels uncomfortable. Thus, charismatic but shallow thinkers gain followers, while those who carry truth struggle to gain traction. The viral nature of simplicity, social media, and modern digital systems amplify this imbalance. Content that is simple, emotionally charged, certainty-driven, spreads rapidly because it is easy to process, share, and agree with. Deep, nuanced, and carefully argued insights require attention, contemplation, and effort, qualities that algorithms do not reward. Why confidence feels safer psychologically. People gravitate towards certainty because it reduces cognitive dissonance and decision fatigue. Following a confident leader means they don't have to think deeply. They don't have to question their beliefs. They don't have to take responsibility for uncertainty. This is why populist leaders, motivational speakers, and influencers who speak in absolutes gain mass appeal. Their words may be shallow, but their certainty feels comforting. Intelligence is inherently humble. Deep thinkers, on the other hand, understand the limitations of their knowledge. The more you learn, the more you realize how much there is you do not know. This creates intellectual humility, leading thinkers to speak with caution, avoid absolute claims, acknowledge complexity. Unfortunately, society often mistakes this humility for weakness. Examples from history: Socrates challenged people to think deeply and question assumptions. He was executed, while others who offered comforting illusions were embraced. Galileo showed scientific truths, but was silenced because his clarity threatened established beliefs. Tesla dreamed of free energy, but lacked the social manipulation skills of his rivals, leading to his isolation. Meanwhile, charismatic but simplistic leaders throughout history have gained masses of followers with comforting lies, leaving deep thinkers on the fringes. What this means for you as a thinker: you speak carefully, acknowledge uncertainty, and question deeply. You will often be overlooked in a society addicted to certainty. But remember, your humility is not weakness. It is the sign of your depth. Your caution is not indecision. It is your respect for truth. Your complexity is not confusion. It is the cost of seeing clearly. You must learn to communicate your insights in a way that others can receive, while preserving your depth. Strategic application: package your depth with simplicity when needed. Use clear, confident communication without sacrificing nuance. Understand when to engage and when to preserve your energy. Accept that many will prefer illusions, and your mission is not to save everyone. The thinker's role is not to win the popularity contest, but to carry the torch of truth, even if it burns alone in the darkness. In the next section, we will explore how deep thinkers can find genuine connection despite widespread social resistance, and the importance of building a hidden tribe of clarity in a noisy world. If you are ready to learn how to survive isolation without losing your mind, stay here. Section 7. The Isolation Paradox. Deep thinkers feel alone. You will not see it on motivational reels or in fake positivity content, but here is the brutal truth. The deeper you think, the lonelier you will feel. Not because there is something wrong with you, but because your mind no longer fits in the spaces most people live within. This is the isolation paradox. The more clarity you gain, the more distance you feel from those around you. Why deep thinkers feel disconnected. 1. Surface-level conversations feel empty. Most people engage in small talks, port scores, celebrity gossip, surface-level complaints, because it is comfortable and safe. As a thinker, you crave discussions about meaning, human nature, the nature of suffering and purpose, society's illusions. When you try to bring depth into casual conversations, you are often met with blank stares, dismissive laughter, or awkward silences. To social dynamics, punish depth groups, reward those who entertain, fit in, reaffirm collective beliefs. those who challenge beliefs or expose uncomfortable truths risk social exclusion. This is why you will often find that people suddenly change the topic, go silent, or physically distance themselves when you speak. Truths that pierce illusions. Point 3. Your awareness creates friction. The clearer you see societal illusions, consumerism, status, games, collective delusions, the harder it becomes to participate without feeling like a liar. You may find yourself unable to laugh at jokes rooted in ignorance, or to celebrate achievements rooted in shallow validation. You feel the weight of seeing what others do not point for the will to truth versus the will to comfort. Arthur Schopenhauer explained this divide precisely. Most people live by the will to comfort, seeking pleasure, avoiding discomfort, and maintaining illusions. Deep thinkers live by the will to truth, seeking clarity, even if it leads to discomfort and disillusionment. This split creates isolation, because those seeking comfort will avoid those who reflect uncomfortable truths back at them. It's not just you, it's history. History shows that thinkers, philosophers, and visionaries have always faced misunderstanding, mockery, isolation, resistance. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow," but his clarity led to isolation and accusations of insanity. Kafka felt the crushing alienation of seeing too clearly, writing stories about invisible prisons in society. Pascal recognized the terror of thinking deeply about human existence and the abyss of meaninglessness it can reveal. They all suffered loneliness, not because they were wrong, but because they were ahead of their time. Modern isolation of thinkers in today's hyper-connected world. You would think deep thinkers could easily find like-minded people, but social media algorithms reward entertainment over depth. Shallow content goes viral. Depth remains hidden. Echo chambers amplify popular illusions, silencing dissent. It becomes a paradox. The world is louder than ever, yet thinkers feel more alone than ever. The purpose of isolation, your isolation, is not a curse. It is a filter. It removes those who are not ready, allowing you to cultivate your mind without constant interruption. Protect your clarity from being diluted by mediocrity. Identify the few who are truly capable of deep connection. Solitude can be transformed from suffering into strength if you learn how to use it. How to navigate the isolation embrace. Solitude is training. Use your alone time for reading, writing, building your vision, and refining your clarity. Limit shallow interactions. You do not need to force yourself to fit in everywhere. Seek depth in hidden spaces. Books, philosophy circles, private communities of deep thinkers. Learn social masks strategically. Sometimes you must blend in to survive while preserving your inner clarity. Your isolation is a rite of passage. You feel disconnected. Understand, you are not broken. You are not lost. You are awakening in a world designed to stay asleep. Your loneliness is proof you see what most cannot. Section 8. Finding your hidden tribe in a world that resists depth. If you have ever felt alone in your thoughts, tired of shallow conversations, or alienated in social spaces, know this: your mind is seeking its true tribe. Because while society at large resists depth, there are those hidden in the noise who crave the same clarity you do. Your task is not to force everyone to think like you. Your task is to find those who already sense what you sense, but feel alone in their awakening. Why you need a hidden tribe. Isolation is a double-edged sword. It protects your clarity from dilution, It allows you to think without interruption. It helps you see the illusions of the world clearly. But prolonged isolation can also lead to emotional burnout, cynicism and bitterness, loss of faith in humanity. Even the strongest thinkers need a tribe that understands them. You do not need a large audience. You need a small circle of clarity. The historical power of small circles throughout history. Deep thinkers found each other in hidden corners. Socrates and Plato gathered under trees and in private homes to discuss philosophy. Away from the distractions of the agora, the Stoics formed schools to teach resilience and depth in a shallow society. Intellectual salons during the Enlightenment allowed thinkers to exchange radical ideas safely, creating revolutions in art, science, and governance. These small circles shaped history. They provided validation, challenge, and refinement to minds that would otherwise have withered in isolation. Why most people cannot be your tribe most. People avoid discomfort, fear truth that challenges their identity, prefer conformity, over-exploration. It is not your mission to wake up those who choose to sleep. It is to find the few who are already stirring. Your clarity is valuable, and you must protect it from those who would attack or drain it because they cannot handle the discomfort it brings. Where to find your hidden tribe books. The minds of dead thinkers can become your mentors. Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, Marcus Aurelius, and Dostoevsky will speak to you across time. Niche, online communities, philosophy forums, deep discussion servers, and private study groups exist away from mainstream noise. Quiet individuals. In your circles, often, another deep thinker is near you, observing silently, waiting for someone to start a real conversation. Your creations, when you share your clarity through videos, writings, or art, it becomes a beacon that attracts those who think like you. How to build connection without diluting depth. Start with silence. Observe who asks real questions, rather than who talks the loudest. Offer depth slowly. Test for curiosity. Share small insights and see who responds with genuine interest. Avoid debates with the unwilling. Your energy is precious. Spend it on those who are ready, not on those who wish to argue for their limitations. Use the digital world wisely. Instead of seeking validation, use it to attract like minds. A single deep conversation is worth more than 100 empty comments. The hidden benefit of a small tribe, hidden tribe, validates your journey while preserving your independence, challenges you to refine your thinking without hostility, offers emotional support in a world that misunderstands you, provides strategic alliances for projects, learning, and growth. Remember, the greatest revolutions in human history often started with small, quiet circles of thinkers, not with loud, popular movements. Your strategic perspective it is tempting to believe you are alone because you see so clearly. But the reality is, you are rare, but not alone. Others like you exist, but you must find them intentionally. Building your hidden tribe is not a luxury. It is essential for your mental and spiritual survival. Your mind is your greatest asset. Protect it by surrounding yourself with those who sharpen it, not those who dull it. In the next section, we will explore how you can communicate your depth effectively in a world addicted to simplicity and speed, ensuring your message is heard without sacrificing your truth. If you are ready to transform your clarity into influence while staying true to your depth, stay here. Section 9. How to communicate depth in a world addicted to simplicity. You might believe that to be heard, you must dilute your depth, simplify your message until it loses its essence. or speak in catchy slogans that betray your clarity. But the truth is, you can communicate profound ideas effectively without sacrificing their depth. If you learn how to package them for a distracted world. Why the world prefers simplicity. Most people's minds are trained by short-form content. Algorithm, dopamine loops, instant validation cycles. Complex ideas require effort to understand, which triggers discomfort and cognitive resistance in many people. This is why shallow content often outperforms depth in metrics. Viral clips prioritize emotional hooks over nuance. Echo chambers form around comforting simplicity. The cost of oversimplification: if you oversimplify your depth to fit the world's attention spans, you risk diluting your message, attracting audiences who do not value clarity, losing the thinkers who crave what you truly have to offer. But if you speak only in complexity, your message will reach almost no one. The solution is strategic communication, not dumbing down your message, but layering it for accessibility without losing truth. How to communicate depth effectively: start with a hook, then lead deeper. Begin with a relatable scenario, a shocking fact, or a piercing question. Once you have attention, unfold the layers of your insight gradually. Example: have you ever felt lonelier the smarter you became? Let's explore why intelligence often leads to isolation. Use storytelling. People resist abstract arguments, but resonate with stories. Use parables, historical examples, or personal stories to anchor your insights. Break down complex ideas into clear steps. Instead of presenting a full, abstract system, offer it as actionable steps. Example: why thinkers feel alone gives one small talk feels empty. 2. Seeing illusions creates friction. 3. Clarity isolates. Use metaphors and analogies. They allow people to grasp complex truths without oversimplifying. Example: clarity is a torch in the darkness. It helps you see, but also shows you how alone you are. End with reflection or challenge. Invite the audience to consider how your insight applies to them, activating their mind instead of passive consumption. Examples from history: Socrates used questions to guide people into depth, rather than imposing lectures. Nietzsche wrote with vivid metaphors and parables, making abstract philosophy feel alive. Marcus Aurelius shared profound Stoic wisdom in short, direct meditations, accessible yet powerful. These thinkers proved that you can communicate depth in layers while maintaining the integrity of your insights. Navigating digital spaces in a world ruled by algorithms. Use short-form snippets as gateways to your deeper content. Optimize titles and hooks for discoverability while ensuring your substance delivers. Accept that most will only scratch the surface, but a few will follow you into depth. Remember, your goal is not to go viral. It is to find your true audience and change minds that are ready to think. How to maintain authenticity while communicating. Speak with certainty about your principles while acknowledging complexity where it exists. Refuse to dumb down your essence for likes. Refine your delivery for impact. Preserve your clarity. Your audience will feel it even in short interactions. In a world of noise, depth becomes your unique signature. When you communicate it well, those who are searching will recognize it immediately. Why this matters: if thinkers refuse to speak because no one will listen, society loses its compass. You have a responsibility to communicate clearly, to challenge illusions, to awaken those ready to see. Your mission is not to convince everyone, but to reach those few who are ready to think deeply and to give them the clarity they seek. In the final section, we will explore how to live as a deep thinker in a shallow world, practical mental strategies, lifestyle design, and mindset shifts to remain powerful and stable, while carrying your clarity in a society that fears it. If you want to learn how to transform your insight into inner strength and navigate life without losing yourself, stay here. Section 10. How to live powerfully as a deep thinker in a shallow world. You now understand why society resists deep thinkers, why your clarity creates isolation, and how to communicate your insights effectively. The final challenge is the hardest. How do you live with clarity without breaking in a world that fears it? How do you carry your depth powerfully, remaining stable and unbreakable, even when surrounded by noise, mediocrity, and distractions? 1. Embrace solitude, but do not let it consume you. Solitude is your sanctuary for thought, reflection, and creation. Use it for reading, writing, and refining your mind. Walk in silence, allowing your thoughts to breathe. Let solitude sharpen your clarity and vision. But remember, solitude is a tool, not a prison. Prolonged isolation can lead to cynicism and emotional decay if you are not careful. Maintain intentional solitude, balanced with purposeful connection with your hidden tribe. 2. Ruthlessly guard your mental space in a world of endless distractions. Protect your mind like a fortress. Limit low-quality information intake. Curate your environment: books, mentors, communities. Build strong boundaries against negativity and chaos. Remember, your attention is your power. Society wants your mind scattered. You must train it to remain focused. 3. Build a personal philosophy. As your compass, deep thinkers often struggle with existential crises, questioning everything until nothing feels certain. To remain stable, develop your own principles and code of life. Define what matters to you: truth, clarity, freedom, contribution. Return to your philosophy when you feel lost in noise. This is how thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Nietzsche survived in chaotic times without losing themselves. 4. Learn strategic adaptability, living powerfully as a deep thinker does not mean constant confrontation with the world. Learn when to speak and when to remain silent. Master social masks when required while preserving your internal clarity. Choose your battles. Not every situation deserves your insight. Strategic adaptability ensures you can operate within society without being consumed by it. 5. Transform your depth into action. Deep thinking becomes a curse only when it leads to paralysis. Do not remain trapped in endless analysis. Use your clarity to build meaningful projects. Solve real problems for yourself and others. Create art, videos, systems, or businesses aligned with your vision. When your depth is converted into action, it empowers you, transforming isolation into creation. 6. Accept the loneliness of the path. Some degree of loneliness will remain. You will see what others cannot. You will think about what others avoid. You will feel disconnected from many around you. But this loneliness is not your enemy. It is proof that you are living awake in a world that prefers sleep. Find comfort in the truth that great minds before you walked the same lonely path and moved humanity forward because of it. Point 7. Anchor yourself in purpose, suffering into fuel. Why do you seek clarity? Why do you share your insights? What impact do you wish to have? Purpose gives you the strength to carry your depth even when it feels heavy. 8. Focus on inner mastery over external validation. The shallow world is addicted to external validation, likes, shares, clout, and approval. A deep thinker thrives on internal validation, growth, alignment with truth, and the pursuit of mastery. Do not measure yourself by external noise. Your real progress is your mind's refinement, your discipline, and your ability to live aligned with your principles. Your final understanding to live powerfully as a deep thinker. Use solitude to sharpen your mind, protect your attention. Ruthlessly, build a personal philosophy. Act strategically within society. Transform depth into creation. Accept the loneliness of clarity. Anchor in purpose. Seek inner mastery. Society may fear those who think differently, but it is thinkers like you who push civilization forward. One idea, one action, one unbreakable moment of clarity at a time. You are not here to be accepted by everyone. You are here to build the world you wish to see.